Hey, this is Trissa from Sewing and Things. In this video, we're doing the button elastic hack for the Grady pants sew along. For the button elastic, you'll be using this button elastic. It makes it so you can make the pants tighter, but also being able to loosen it as your child grows. That way the pants or shorts can last a little bit longer. Yes. And then I like to use buttons that are 5/8 of an inch. You don't want them probably any smaller than 1/2 of an inch in diameter, but anywhere between 1/2 of an inch and 5/8 of an inch for that. And this hack can be used on both the fitted waistband as well as the back elastic. However, in this video, I'm using the fitted waistband. I like this because my son is pretty skinny, so it means that I can use this and then I don't have to grade in for his hips, which is even better for me. Your pants or shorts should be done this far. Your waistband is not yet attached, and if you're doing the hook and eye closure, that should already be done as well. So we're going to start off by sewing some buttonholes on the inside waistband, anywhere around that side seam on both sides of your waistband. And just keep in mind of where we're going to be top stitching, that you want to make sure that that buttonhole is above where that top stitching will be. And for the chino dress pant version, we're only going to have one row of top stitching on the bottom. But for the jean version, there's going to be top stitching on the top and bottom. So keep that in mind when you are sewing your buttonholes on there. And if you don't have interfacing on the wrong side of your inner waistband, make sure you get a piece of interfacing and iron that on where you are going to sew your buttonhole. Before you sew your buttonholes on, you really are going to want to decide how you are going to attach your buttonhole elastic. So once those buttonholes are installed, we are essentially going to have we're basically going to have an overlap of outside of that buttonhole. So you're going to decide if you want to sew on your buttonhole elastic through the whole entire waistband, or if you're just going to want to put it on through that bottom layer. And then you will need to stabilize that with some interfacing. If you are doing the jean version, you can hide the stitching of your buttonhole elastic when you install the belt loops. So you can position where you're going to sew this on, where your first or second belt loop is going to be. And so once you've decided where you're going to sew on and how you're going to sew on your buttonhole elastic, that'll determine where you are going to put your buttonholes. Since I have my buttonholes on the side seam, I'm going to just sew my buttonhole elastic on the inside of my waistband, on just the inside layer. And so I'll need to add some interfacing to that on both sides. With both of those buttonholes sewn, I like to add a little bit of fray check before I open up those buttonholes. It just keeps it from fraying. Now just let that dry for a little bit before you cut open those buttonholes. So now my buttonholes are dry. We're going to go ahead and open them up. If you are sewing the jean version, it might be easier to sew on your buttons before you sew your waistband. And you want to place your button right next to your buttonhole, that we have room to button it. So if you are sewing the jean version, you can go ahead and sew that button on. You can also sew it after you sew on your waistband, but I'm going to just sew my button on through the back. That way it's not showing through on the front waistband. Now, if you're going to be sewing the jean version and are going to sew your button elastic through your entire waistband and hiding the stitches with a belt loop, you can go ahead and sew your entire waistband together now. And then afterwards, we'll feed the elastic through the back opening. But if you're doing the chino dress pant version like I am, I'm going to start off by just sewing the back waistband similar to the back elastic instructions. And then I'm going to feed my button elastic through before I sew the rest of it on, because I'm going to attach my button elastic to just my underside waistband. Go ahead and sew your waistband together along the bottom or the entire waistband for the jean version. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll come back. Now with my waistband sewn at the back, I'm now going to feed some of this buttonhole elastic through my buttonhole. You want to make sure it's a little bit longer than your waistband so it doesn't suck back through. So I'm going to cut it extra long just in case, and I can always cut more off when I'm done. Now with that thread through, you want to make sure that the elastic is not twisted at all. If it's a little bit smaller than your buttonhole, that is totally fine. So now what we're going to want to do is make sure you have some excess. Remove that safety pin. I'm going to trim this. Before you sew your elastic down, make sure you sew your button on both sides. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll come back. With those buttons sewn on, we can now sew our elastic to our shorts. Remember to fold it over slightly and then sew it on. And then go ahead and trim your elastic if you need to at this time. And then you're going to do that for both sides. Make sure you trim it and then fold it so you can stitch it on after that button. And you really can do it anywhere. You just want to make sure you have room to be able to put that elastic on that button. So go ahead and sew those on, and then we'll come back. With your elastic sewn on, we can now sew the remainder of our waistband. Go ahead and use pins and repress if you need to. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll come back. Once your waistband is top stitched, your elastic is sewn down, and your buttons are sewn in place, you can now add some stitching here to hold that elastic in place at the back. However, that is optional. If you are doing the jean version and sewing in belt loops, your belt loop will cover this back stitching. But if you're not doing that, then you can go ahead and tighten your button elastic however you need to for your child's pants to fit. You can try them on as necessary. You can tighten them up a lot, tighten them up a little bit. But there you have it. That's it for the buttonhole elastic.
To stay up to date on the latest videos, be sure to subscribe to my channel, or you can check out my blog at sewingandthings.com.